Hey YouTube, Happy New Year. January 1st, 2020. Let's see what the car does today. I've got a new route I'm going to try. I think it'll give us some interesting scenarios we could perhaps flesh out a little bit. But we're going to start 2020 with our first unprotected left turn here. Stop sign needs to creep forward without going, and it proceeded, and I let it go because it was open, and all the way into the left lane. It's nice when I can let it go and do its thing because the traffic isn't coming. It didn't stop on that creep, but it didn't go for it either. So yeah, I guess as long as if it had seen something, it had the reaction time to stop immediately, that would have worked just fine. The problem is the traffic coming this other direction is going about 50 miles an hour. You see, the speed limit here is 50. Sometimes people are going 10 over and 60. But unprotected left turns, I'll do a few more of those on the next build. I think I'm not going to do a dedicated unprotected turn video multiple times in one build, unless we have a different camera angle or something else we're trying. All right, that was two good lane changes. All right, this next intersection is it's gonna cross a bike lane, so look for the bike lane. It's going into a turn lane, and then it's got to cross railroad tracks. There isn't a train coming at the moment. And it'll be going slow enough for the turn that the railroad track crossing speed, isn't something to look for. All right. But here we are, and it needs to get over, and it got stuck. Look at this. Okay, so it needs to be over here right now. Okay, where is it going? All right. It wasn't going to turn because it got stuck. Interesting. So I'm not sure why that happened. It had no traffic to contend with. I guess it didn't want to cross the white line to go into the bike lane, and instead it was going to proceed straight through the green light instead of turning right. I'll have to look at that in post, but if any of you guys see what you think it saw, please feel free to throw it in the comments. Like I've said on almost each of these videos, without fail, someone makes a comment about something they saw in the video that I didn't even see while I was driving, so those are always appreciated. Okay, I've reset the destination since we don't have waypoints. I've got multiple waypoint destinations in order to create this route. So it just had to do a lane change in front of a car. It did accelerate to do it, which was good, and it got all the way over. So I would say that lane management was just fine. We are proceeding on green and staying into the right lane. That was good. That was a good lane change and navigation there. Didn't have any bike lanes to deal with like in the previous intersection. It looks like I've got a I don't know why it's doing this on the route, but I'm gonna let it navigate. It's kind of, it should just be going straight here, unless it knows something I don't about a detour. But I'm gonna just let it take the advantage of getting off the highway a little bit. All right, it's clear on both sides if it wants to proceed now, but if it waits very long, it's going to have to wait again. Okay, it sees that car now. That was good that it waited. There's a truck. That was the truck it saw. Now it's clear again. It can proceed. If it waits too much longer. Okay, it jumped out in the middle of that car. So I don't know why it decided to jump there. So that was a similar scenario to yesterday, where it jumped too far out without committing that time. Interesting. All right, coming up to this intersection, as I look back, there's no reason that it couldn't have stayed on the highway here, so I'm not exactly sure why it chose to do the reroute. So we got a right on red scenario here. It's got a pretty good view angle back to the left, and it cleared that just fine. Good. Okay, on this road here, I'm gonna probably cancel this route here. And you see we have, I'm gonna do a lane change over into the left lane. You see we have what's called it's a dual turn lane. Some people call it a suicide lane. That's probably not a great word for it. But the fact is that there is no designated lane. Anyone could turn left or right from this lane, and the markings show as such. Many locations, restaurants or strip malls or whatever, you have to kind of get into that lane and create an unprotected left turn in order to get out of it. So what I'm going to do is try to create a scenario where the car has to use the turn lane in order to make a turn. Okay, I think I've got a destination set where the car is going to have to use the center turn lane, the suicide lane, in order to cross the traffic to make it to the destination. Okay, so it did just now enter the turn lane. There is no oncoming traffic, as you can see, approaching. Yeah, all right, it did a good job there. So I'll try to set up a few more of those, maybe with some traffic interactions. But I guess the point I was trying to make was it completely used that center turn lane appropriately. Let's try a couple more. Okay, in this scenario, I've got another destination set, but I'm going to start from in the turn lane, which is where I am now, so I need to merge back into the traffic. All right, it's accelerating in the turn lane, and it needs to get over, but it's using this turn lane for the moment as its lane. Now granted, I didn't give it a destination very far, so it stayed in the turn lane that time. Don't think that was illegal, but I'll try to give it another scenario. Okay, I've engaged it here in the parking lot, and it needs to merge out on the traffic. It's clear at the moment. It can stay in the right lane if it goes. Okay, it's in the street right now. There is no oncoming traffic, so I'm going to let it stay here. But you can see very clearly it's creeping in the street. Darn tire pressure is a bug. So I'm not comfortable that it was comfortable in the street there. But that's where the code is at the moment. Okay, so it was not comfortable with that flashing yellow. It kind of gave a pretty good break there, but I'm not sure why. And here comes this turn. Let's see if it chooses to use the turn lane, or is it going to go proceed up to the light. Okay, it's changing into the turn lane, and it needs to kind of go unprotected left here. There is oncoming traffic. All right, it's stopped. It's now clear. Let's see what it does. It does say autopilot pause, waiting for cross traffic. I don't see any cross traffic, so it can commit. It's nervously committing. Okay, I'm gonna have to press the accelerator. Okay, I didn't end up having to press the accelerator, but that hesitancy was nerve-wracking. If it had been busy traffic, I wouldn't have been able to probably let that one ride. But it did what it needed to do. So let's give it credit for that. Okay, I've got one more left turn. I think that'll probably be enough of these suicide lane test here. It's got a stop sign, needs to look left. It's clear, nice light New Year's Day traffic, which is convenient for FSD testing, but perhaps a little less challenging than I normally like to test. Okay, did a lane change. It's going to proceed through this light, and it should use the turn lane to go into this business up here on the left. Okay, it's getting into the turn lane. All right, and it smoothly rolled straight into that. It did have to kind of wait for that one car, and it did that, and it never even fully stopped. It just continued to roll. So I think I'm comfortable to say that it has the logic to use the turn lane appropriately. I think the unprotected left turn scenario is similar to all the other unprotected lefts where a stop sign or something else is being presented. All right, let's keep going. All right, it's deciding to take a right here, which is a little bit of a shortcut, so good on route mapping there, but I've got a few speed bumps on this road. They are marked with signs. It's going 30. Let's see. All right, good job. It slowed all the way down to, looks like it was targeting 15 for that road hump. All right, it's definitely in the middle of the road again. No lane markings. It's been doing this for the last couple builds. All right, this is a two-way stop across a divided highway. I do have a biker over here. It should stop. No. All right, I proceeded because the biker kind of deviated course behind me. I wish I'd have let that one go a little bit further with the biker, but I didn't. All right, 2-lane crossing here. Nothing unusual. Interesting, it mapped 2 stop signs there. Not sure why it did that. All right, another marked road hump. Marked with the sign. It's not being marked on the street at all. All right, another stop sign. We do have some crossing traffic. Another double stop sign here. I wonder what's creating that scenario. Very slow. We were 9 miles an hour in the middle of the intersection there. Okay, this is a railroad crossing with a right turn. We do have a lead car here. That flashing yellow is the do not stop on track sign, so it's definitely confusing all sorts of flashing lights as being regular stoplights, at least on the visualization. It is a little bit beyond the stop line for the railroad tracks that I think actually are being visualized here. There is a line. It's impossible to see on the daytime visualization. Some people have asked me to use nighttime. I did a test video. I can very clearly show you why I'm at this line, that the nighttime at 100% is pretty difficult to see. It uses grays instead of whites for navigation. There's a little bit of a visualization here, but perhaps you can see that white line right there. I'm going to go back to the day mode. 100%. You can see this car trying to squeeze by up here at that intersection. It's visualizing it exactly right, which is good. He doesn't want to wait. He proceeded on his own. But I guess I'll comment now that that car is out of the way. I am glad that it's not putting me on the railroad tracks, because there definitely is room for me to scoot up a little bit now that that other car is gone. I wonder if it's doing that on purpose or if it's just sitting here waiting on the light. All right, we got a green light, and now I decided to proceed, and it's turning right. Yeah, so I'll call that intersection wait on the other side of the railroad tracks a good one. Okay, I jumped over into residential just to give a little bit of driving opportunity here. Whoa, where's it going? That was a weird one. It's got a blinker on. It's got a good route. I'm not exactly sure what it's thinking right now. I got a pedestrian up here on the right. Needs to kind of get around to the left a little bit. Okay, did you see that? The blue path is jumping around a little bit. See if it settles out here. I've got a pedestrian and a dog on the other side of the street. It didn't show any deviation to get further over to the right. It's kind of staying in the middle of the right road. Okay, I got another blinker here that's kind of jumping in and out. It's not happy right now for some reason. Let's see what it does. All right, I've got another pedestrian up here on the other side of the road. I kind of wish it would scoot over to the right a little bit more, just kind of. Okay, the blue line is definitely jumping around a little bit, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Another blinker. Slowing down. I'm okay with the speed, but I can feel that it's slowing down thinking for something. It's not slowing down to avoid anything. Okay, I jogged very hard right for, I think, was a manhole cover. Not exactly sure why it jumped so hard. I'll look for that one in post also. A very large pothole here. It did okay there. So, interesting. It slowed down for this little. Alright, that was a little bit bigger of a pothole than I wanted, so I did disengage. Let me re-engage it manually there. They're doing some construction here. It looks like they're cutting the asphalt up, and there's a few potholes that are a little bit bigger than I'd like to drive through. Went around that yard debris fine. The blue line is definitely jumping around a little bit. I don't know why it's doing these little darts every once in a while. It's kind of startling me. Alright, so this is the turn that was mapped, so I guess once it finally got here, it made the right decision to turn. Alright, very confusing turn, but no one's watching me. Alright, so it's got to navigate between these two cars. It slowed down to a nice speed and did that just fine. Wow, okay, got an oncoming car here. It sees it just fine. Pedestrian and a squeeze at the same time here. It's got a good path. Needs to slow down though. Okay, hey, it did that perfectly well. Okay, it was kind of going over towards that pedestrian a little bit too much, and I was approaching the destination that I had set, so that may have been an influence there. All right, let me reset a destination. This is interesting. I normally don't drive in residential like this because it's fairly straightforward, but I'm gonna say today it's giving me some interesting insights as to how it's thinking. All right, I've got another route set. All right, it's using the blinker here with a left blinker as it's doing a right turn. So I'm not sure what it's thinking. There are no left turns to take here. All right, what is it doing there? All right, it looked like it was thinking about going right, but then realized straight ahead was its mapped path. All right, I'm going back on that same road I was coming in on, as you may or may not be able to tell. So there is a little bit of where the street has been cut, and there's some pretty big potholes. All right, so it's going around this tractor. It's got a decent mapped path. It's slowed way down, which is great. It didn't quite slow down as much going the other direction, but I'm thinking maybe it is slowing down for these parts of the road that are kind of cut out. A little bit rough there. Yeah, it didn't dodge that pothole. But I feel like it's trying to avoid some things on the road with some of these darts to the left and to the right. All right, got a right turn coming up. All right, and it did that as expected. A little bit jerky on the steering wheel for those of you that like to look at what the steering wheel's doing. Don't know what it was dodging there. It's almost like it thought that trash bag was a person, because it was marked as blue. All right, now we got a stoplight that's going across the highway, crossing some railroad tracks. It's picking up the yellow. Whoa. Did you see that for a second? It looked like it was going to go around them for a second, and it changed its mind. Okay, now we've got a green going straight, and it's waiting here. I don't have anybody behind me, so I'm just going to let it do its thing. It's full green, and now it's yellow, and it's red, and it stopped. Okay, unlike yesterday, it went for it. I'm glad it stopped, but it didn't feel like it was going to for a second. There was nobody coming from the left or the right, so I felt like I could have escaped had it decided to proceed into the highway. I guess that's a benefit of testing on New Year's Day. A little bit lower traffic. Well, but while we're here, I guess we can take a look at this visualization. Just a second ago, you may have noticed, if you didn't, maybe rewind it a little bit. There, up in the distance, there were 3 cyclists that crossed. It did visualize both of those a good block and a half away. Looking to the left from the B-pillar camera, I have a great view here, so there definitely is no obstructions for this left turn, but it isn't mapping it tremendously far. I wonder if that is the 80-meter radius there for those curbs, but I guess it is picking up some cars a little bit further out beyond the designation of the curb, which is nice. Got a truck approaching and he's in the turn lane. It's turning right there. That was all accurate. And then just waiting for the light. I'm gonna go ahead and wait on this light rather than turn right, just because what this is a little bit of a unprotected left, and I want to know it is a protected left in the fact that, no, let me correct that again, because someone could be coming across, directly across, and there is no arrow. It is an unprotected left if I were turning left. I'm going straight, but the cars on this highway are going so fast, if one of them was going to run a red light or a yellow light, that is a concern. And there have been actual fatal accidents on this road before. Yeah, it didn't creep at all. Whew, it went for it. Interesting. And very 30 miles an hour into that turn. Yeah, sometimes it goes for it with a little bit too much gusto. And when there's cars or intersections like in the video I showed yesterday, there was a truck right there. Speed that it goes into some of these turns, it's almost like it's not thinking far enough ahead in order to determine what the safest speed is to approach a turn. Okay, I think that's enough for today. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Please feel free to make comments if you saw anything I didn't, or comments in general appreciated. Have a great New Year's.